I spent months restoring my late father's vintage motorcycle. One morning I found it knocked over with scratches deep into the frame. My neighbor's son smiled and said, "It's just a bike." It looked old anyway. I walked away without a word. The next day he came outside to find something missing. I'm a 38-year-old mechanic living in Knoxville, Tennessee. Been here my whole life. My dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack. He was a quiet, hard-working man. He taught me how to use a wrench, how to respect machines, and how to keep my mouth shut unless something needed saying. He didn't leave much behind. No big inheritance or anything like that. But he did leave me his old motorcycle. It was a 1965 Triumph Bonneville. I remembered it from when I was a kid. He used to take it out on Sundays and clean it like it was a damn Ferrari. After Mom died he stopped riding. Just covered it in a tarp and let it sit in the garage until the metal started rusting and the seats started cracking. After he died I made it my project. That bike was the only thing that really felt like him. I cleared out my garage, built a workbench and started restoring it piece by piece. I worked long shifts at the shop during the day, then came home and spent my nights fixing that bike. I stripped the whole thing down, ordered parts online, sanded down every inch of rust and painted it myself in that same deep British racing green it had when it was new. Took 6 months. It wasn't just a bike anymore. It was my way of grieving and healing. I finished it in October. It looked perfect and ran better than it ever had. I parked it in my driveway every now and then when the weather was good. Sometimes I just sit on the porch and look at it, thinking about all those rides Dad used to take. It made me feel close to him again. Then one morning I opened the door, coffee in hand, and saw it. Lying on its side, the kickstand was snapped. The gas tank had 2 deep scratches running right across the Triumph logo. The handlebar grip was half torn off. The mirror was hanging by a thread, swinging in the wind. I didn't say a word. I just stood there staring at it, feeling my chest tighten. That's when I heard laughing. I turned my head and saw Ethan, my neighbor's teenage son, sitting on their porch bouncing a tennis ball off the wall like a little smartass. He smirked and said, "It's just a bike. It looked old anyway." I didn't answer him. I didn't go over there. I didn't scream or punch anything. I just walked over to the bike, lifted it gently and wheeled it back into the garage. I locked the door behind me and sat there staring at the scratches. I stayed in that garage most of the day, trying not to lose it. My hands were shaking. I wanted to break something. But I didn't. Instead I made a decision. The next morning I was back on my porch drinking coffee. Ethan came outside in a tank top and pajama pants, yawning. He walked to the driveway heading toward his dad's 2023 Dodge Charger. They treated that thing like a trophy, always polishing it, keeping it clean, never parking too close to anyone at the store. But the car didn't look right. It was tilted. All 4 wheels were gone. The car was sitting on 4 dirty, mismatched cinder blocks. The wheel wells were empty. The brake rotors were sitting in the grass like someone had taken their time pulling them off, which I had. I'd done it just before dawn in the dark like a ghost. I didn't scratch the car. I didn't break anything. I just lifted it clean and professional, pulled the wheels and vanished. Sold them to a guy I knew an hour later. Cash in hand. No questions. Ethan stood there frozen. Then he looked at me. I didn't say a word. He stormed over to the porch. "You think this is funny?" he yelled. I just looked at him and said, "It's just a car." Looked new anyway. He looked like he wanted to hit me, but he didn't. That night his dad came home and lost his damn mind. I heard yelling through the walls. Heard the words, "police," and "insurance fraud," and "useless little punk." But no one knocked on my door. They knew they couldn't prove a damn thing. "Your security camera?" I knew it wasn't hooked up. Ethan told me that months ago while bragging about how his dad was too cheap to pay for cloud storage. I remembered every word. But I wasn't done. Because Ethan didn't just hurt my bike. He mocked my father's memory. So I started watching him. Ethan was sloppy. He snuck out around 11:30 every Saturday night, took his mom's Toyota Highlander and drove downtown to meet his friends at some late-night pizza place or dive bar. He wasn't old enough to drink, but that didn't stop him. I followed him. I parked a block away, took pictures from across the street, him laughing, drinking, passing a joint, hanging on some girl. Every Saturday I added more to my little collection. I wasn't stalking him. I was building a case. After 3 weeks I had enough. I put all the pictures on a flash drive, labeled it Ethan's Nights, and dropped it in their mailbox around 6 a.m. By noon all hell had broken loose. His dad's voice was echoing down the block. You think we raised you for this? You've been driving drunk? That's our car, Ethan. Ethan didn't come outside for the rest of the day. 2 days later I caught him trying to break into my garage. It was 2 a.m. I was still up listening to the radio in the kitchen when I heard a metal scrape. I peeked out the window and saw him with a crowbar trying to pry open my side door. I stepped outside quietly, stood behind him and said, "You better think hard about what happens next." He jumped 3 feet in the air and ran down the driveway without saying a word. I didn't call the cops. I called my cousin Nate. Nate's a warehouse security guy over in Oak Ridge, but before that he spent a good chunk of his 20s running with some people I won't name. He's clean now, has a family, but favors are favors. I asked him for something simple. Find me a junk frame motorcycle, looks burned or destroyed. I'll pay. 2 days later he showed up with the frame of a Suzuki someone had torched in a garage fire. We stripped it, further spray painted it the same green as my Bonneville, bent the metal to make it look like it had crashed, and wrapped a dirty rag around the handlebars. Then I added a picture. Ethan passed out drunk in the grass behind a bar, vomit by his shoes. We boxed it all up and left it on his porch at 4 a.m. He opened it around 6:30. I watched through the curtains as he backed away from the box, then threw up in the bushes. His parents didn't ask any questions. They just looked scared. And Ethan, he didn't come out for 3 days. After that package things went quiet, too quiet. Ethan stopped going to school. His friends stopped coming around. No more basketball bouncing in the driveway. No more smug laughs or sideways looks. He started pulling the blinds shut in the house like he thought someone was always watching. He wasn't wrong. I kept an eye on him because I knew that kind of kid doesn't just go away. He was angry, humiliated, and worse, cornered. Cornered animals lash out. A week passed. Then 2. Then one Friday night around 10 I smelled smoke. I was in the garage finishing up a carburetor rebuild when I caught a whiff of something burning. Not gas. Not oil. Something acrid. Plastic. Rubber. I ran outside. My backyard shed was on fire. The whole side of it was lit up, flames licking the wooden walls, thick black smoke pouring into the air. I didn't hesitate. Grabbed the garden hose and sprayed everything I could, yelling for 911. By the time the fire truck got there, half the shed was charred and most of my stored tools were gone. Burned up or melted. They said it was probably electrical. I said that was crap. There's no wiring in that shed. I knew it was arson. But I couldn't prove it. I didn't tell the cops about Ethan. I wanted to. I even thought about showing them the photos I had. But I held back. Because now it was war. And I don't go to war with backup. I go in quiet and deep. That next morning I saw Ethan outside for the first time in days. He wasn't smiling anymore. He was pacing. Jumpy. His eyes kept darting up and down the street like someone was coming for him. He didn't know how right he was. I waited 2 days. Then I made my next move. I knew Ethan used the family laptop to message his friends. He wasn't allowed a phone anymore. But I'd seen him on the porch typing away. So I started digging. His dad still used the same Wi-Fi password they told me when I first moved in, Govals22. I got in. Installed a keylogger. And just like that I had access to every message Ethan typed. He'd been talking to a girl from his old school. Bragging. Saying he taught the old man a lesson. Saying I got what I deserved. Ethan admitted to lighting the bastard's shed up. That's all I needed. I printed every line of those chats. Highlighted the good parts. And slid them into an envelope. But I didn't deliver it to the cops. Not yet. I delivered it to his dad. Sunday afternoon his dad was out mowing the lawn. I walked over, handed him the envelope and said, "You should read this." Then I turned and walked back home. Didn't wait. Didn't look back. 10 minutes later I heard the shouting. Louder than before. Things breaking. Ethan yelling that it wasn't fair. His mom crying. I stayed inside. Let it all happen. Next morning the Highlander was gone. So was Ethan. I figured maybe they sent him to stay with family. Some get straight kind of punishment. But that wasn't it. Not even close. 3 days later my shop got a visit. 2 guys in cheap suits. Insurance fraud investigators. They were asking about a claim Ethan's dad filed months ago. Something about a missing catalytic converter on the Dodge Charger. Turned out the serial number from that part showed up in a police auction lot. Attached to a car I'd worked on for a friend a while back. I didn't steal the part. I didn't even know it was stolen. I bought it secondhand. But now my name was on a report. Which meant trouble. It wasn't a coincidence. Ethan had dropped my name to save himself. He told his dad where I sold those Charger wheels. That little bastard had flipped the script. And now I was in the crosshairs. I lawyered up. Paid way more than I had just to make sure everything was above board. Luckily I kept receipts and I was clean. Took a few weeks but I got out of it with just a warning. Still it burned. Because now Ethan had hit back. He dragged my name through the dirt. Made me look dirty to the one thing I cared about. My work. And that I couldn't forgive. He thought the fire was the high point. He thought calling in the feds was the checkmate. But he hadn't even seen what I was capable of yet. I stopped playing defense. Started planning something he wouldn't walk away from. Not reputation-wise. Not socially. Not emotionally. Not ever. After that investigator visit I went quiet. Didn't go after Ethan right away. Didn't even mention his name to anyone. I let people think I was rattled. I let the gossip at the shop run its course. He's lucky they didn't press charges. Guess he finally messed with the wrong person. All that. Let it sink in. Because the best revenge? It doesn't come fast. Comes when they think they've already won. I spent those weeks doing two things. Clearing my name on paper and learning everything I could about Ethan's new life. Turns out they didn't ship him off to family like I thought. They sent him to Pathway Recovery Academy about 90 minutes outside Knoxville. It was a residential discipline program for troubled youth, basically a private reform school with locked gates, prayer circles and a hell of a price tag. Run by a pastor, no state oversight. One of those get your teen right with God kind of places. The kind of place where parents send kids they're ashamed of. It wasn't on Google Maps. You had to know someone to find it. I found it. That's when things started falling into place. I knew a guy named Russ, used to work with him years ago when I was doing engine rebuilds for a trucking company. He now handled electrical systems for private security firms. Did work all over East Tennessee. I called him. Told him I was looking to upgrade my garage security but off the record needed some eyes on a place. Nothing illegal. Just surveillance. He owed me. 2 weeks later I had camera stills, Ethan in uniform, khaki shirt, buzz cut, empty eyes, carrying a Bible like it weighed 100 pounds. It was perfect because the thing about those private discipline schools, they had rules, real strict ones. No phones, no talking to girls, no smoking, no contact with the outside world. And Ethan was already breaking them. Russ's cousin worked groundskeeping there. I paid him $300 cash for a phone dump. Found everything I needed. Photos of Ethan behind the kitchen vaping. A secret Instagram account using a fake name messaging 2 different girls. One of them 17. He thought he was invisible. He wasn't. I compiled every photo, every message, every timestamp. I made 2 copies. One I sent to the director of the academy. The other I mailed anonymously to the parents of the girl he'd been messaging. Then I waited. It took 3 days. First the school director called Ethan's parents. Then the girl's father posted screenshots on Facebook tagging the academy and writing, "This is who you're sheltering." It blew up. Parents started pulling their kids from the program. The school got hit with a private investigation. Donors started backing out. Ethan got expelled. And just like that he was back in Knoxville, except now he had nowhere to go. His parents didn't take him back. They dumped him with his uncle on the east side, the one with the cracked front porch and 5 roommates. From the outside it looked like a hard lesson. But I knew better. Ethan still had that grin under the surface. The kind that says you didn't beat me yet. So I kept going. He picked up a job at a tire shop out on Asheville Highway. A real dump of a place, but it paid cash. I stopped by one afternoon, had my oil changed just to get a look at him. He was thinner, pale, hair grown out awkwardly, but his eyes were still mean. He saw me in the waiting room. Didn't say a word. But I saw his jaw clench, which meant he hadn't forgotten. Good. Later that night I parked across the street, lights off, and watched him leave work. He walked to the bus stop like every night. Except that night he didn't make it home with his backpack. Because while he was looking down at his phone, someone on a bike zipped past and ripped it off his shoulder. That someone was hired, paid in cash, told do not hurt him. Just take the bag and drop it. Inside the bag was Ethan's only form of ID, his work papers, and most importantly his notebook. One where he kept records of what he'd sold under the table. Because yeah, he wasn't just fixing tires. He'd started flipping used rims from junkyards without permits. Not illegal if you do it clean, but Ethan didn't. And now I had proof. Receipts. Names. Amounts. I scanned it all and sent it straight to the owner of the tire shop. Marked anonymous tip. Next morning Ethan was fired on the spot. No warning. No payout. Just a shove and a "don't come back." He tried to get another job, but without ID or references nobody would take him. By the end of the week he was sleeping on the uncle's couch and asking strangers online for cash. I watched the whole thing happen, but I still wasn't done. Because all this was still just the slow bleed. The final move that was coming. And when it hit, it'd be the kind of thing that made him wish he'd never seen my dad's bike. Everything was in place. Ethan was down to nothing. No job. No car. No school. No trust from his family. He was couch hopping and ducking questions. He couldn't even get his driver's license replaced because he had unpaid tickets tied to that fake Instagram account he used to message underage girls. But I wasn't finished yet. Not until he felt what I felt. Not until he knew what it meant to lose something you cared about. See, all this time I'd been collecting more than just proof and photos. I'd been digging into his father. I found something on the county clerk's site. His dad had a past. Not a criminal one, but a financial one. He filed bankruptcy back in 2015. Recovered, rebuilt, but still shaky. Recently he'd co-signed a private loan for a youth recovery fundraiser. Guess who it was for? Ethan. That reformed school wasn't cheap. Turns out his dad was already behind on payments. So I called in a favor from a buddy who runs a lien service. I had him file a claim against the charger for unpaid custom work I'd supposedly done last year before the wheel incident. I had receipts to back it up, fake sure but solid. Paperwork said I installed a performance exhaust system and retuned the ECU. It wasn't true, but it was just enough to hold the title in dispute until the matter was resolved in civil court. The bank panicked. Without a clean title they couldn't process the loan payment. 3 weeks later the charger was repossessed, hooked up and towed away in front of their house. Ethan's mom sat on the porch crying. His dad didn't say a word, just watched it go. Ethan was inside the whole time. Crying from behind the curtain. I thought that would be the end. But then something happened I didn't expect. Ethan showed up at my house. It was late, maybe 10:30 p.m. I heard a knock, looked through the peephole, and there he was. No swagger. No smart mouth. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Eyes red. Shoulders slumped. I opened the door but said nothing. He stared at me for a long second. Then he said, "I get it." I didn't answer. He looked down at the porch, then back up. "You win, all right? I don't even know who I am anymore." That line hit me harder than I thought it would. He looked broken. Really broken. But it didn't change anything. I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. "I told you that bike wasn't just a bike." He nodded, quiet. "You mocked my father. That's what this was always about." "I was just a stupid kid," he muttered. "You're still a stupid kid," I said. "But now you understand consequences." He took a step back like he expected me to hit him. But I didn't. "I don't want your apology," I said. "And I don't forgive you." Then I walked back inside. Locked the door. I watched through the blinds as he stood there a moment, then walked off into the dark. I thought that was the end. But karma had one more twist. A month later I got a letter. From a law office. Ethan's uncle had been arrested. Illegal parts resale operation. Ethan had helped run it. While he was working at the tire shop he'd been moving stolen parts under the table for months. The notebook I stole? It ended up being key evidence in the investigation. He wasn't just out of a job. He was facing real charges now. Possession of stolen property. Fraud. Tampering with evidence. He was 17 when it started, 18 now. Tried as an adult. He got 9 months in county, 3 years probation. I read the news report 3 times. Then I folded it up and slid it into the tool drawer under my dad's Triumph seat. The bike still runs like a dream. Took it out the next day, rode it through the back roads where my dad used to ride. The wind felt good. I didn't think about Ethan. I didn't think about revenge. I thought about Dad. What he would have done. Maybe not all of it. Maybe not as far. But I knew he would have understood. Because when someone spits on what you love, when they laugh in your face while they do it, you don't just let it slide. You don't let it go. You teach them. The way I taught Ethan. And now? Now he remembers. Every time he sees a motorcycle. Every time he walks past a tire shop. Every time someone says the word respect. He remembers me. And more than that, he remembers my father. That's the part that matters. Because that's the piece he'll never take back. Ever again. Thank you for watching. For more videos like this, remember to like and subscribe. Also remember to let us know your thoughts below in the comments.